What's up, y'all? So, we're always sharing our art with y'all, and it's rare that we get to peel back the curtain. So, I had this conversation with my strength and conditioning coach, Donald Mull of Kinetic Impact, and we talked a lot about how he got me ready for my show in China. So, sit back and I hope y'all enjoy. When I come to you with a question saying, hey, I'm 37, I'm about to go to China for the first time in 6 years. I haven't done an event like this in 3 years. Also, my hip hurts. And by the way, I'm going to be holding a pole with a bunch of dancers around me. And we have 3 weeks. Can you get me ready?
Believe it or not, most people come to us in this phase of chaos. So I think first and foremost, it's like keeping it cool, been here before. In your case, you've had such a unique athletic journey and fitness journey. It's a testament to why you're able to go out on stage and hang with and lift up people that are sometimes 2 decades younger than you, like on stage, right? So
That's wild.
yeah, right. But from like a fitness standpoint, I knew it was first and foremost it's 3 weeks away. We're not going to change any fitness, and we have to calibrate the goals. Is okay. I know we can at least get you limping through this thing if need be. But if we're smart, if we mitigate the amount of fatigue that you expose yourself to during rehearsals as well as like your training, and we have a really good dialogue and figure out, okay, what do you need to do, and take out any of the extra fluff to make sure your body's feeling as fresh as possible, then it makes a lot of sense that we can probably clear this up. I think from my standpoint, working with an athlete or really anybody, I have to have the confidence in the basics. I think a lot of times people, when things get complicated and we don't know why something's happening, we start throwing a lot of things at it. And I find that in my experience that if you double down on the basics and the fundamentals, you have way less variables to mess with, but also physiology always typically wins out, and simple goes such a long way. So with you, we just simplified it. I know you want to be powerful. That's like a big component of your style is to be able to switch positions extremely fast. So yes, we're gonna dose in power, but it's not gonna be until you're throwing up. It's gonna be like I told you, it's gonna feel like a tease, and that's exactly the dose that we want, to give your body the stimulus, but allow you to kind of like recover. So I think people oftentimes either don't put in the work outside of their sport, in this case dance, or they go hard and they think the work has to be harder in order to get the better results, which isn't always the case. And I think there's nuance to it, but if you can just stay extremely basic with the basics and learn how to pull the levers you need to pull at the time you need to pull it, I think you can do a lot with a little. Let's keep it as basic as humanly possible and make you feel as fresh as possible for these long rehearsal days, because those rehearsal days are a grind, right? So it's like on those rehearsal days, like take me through kind of like what that looks like in that 3 week period. Like it's 3 weeks out. You haven't done a performance like this in a minute. From now your perspective, what does that look like?
It's definitely an immediate dose of fear. Can I do it again? It's been so long. I've been purposely and intentionally more behind the camera and off the stage, but I was also equally excited about the opportunity to see if I could do it. I'm a challenge based person, so when someone challenges me, I definitely push a little bit harder. And going into that 3 week process, knowing that, hey, we only have so much time, and also I'm juggling other projects. We essentially only had like 5 rehearsals with the dancers, where we're rehearsing anywhere from 5 to 8 hours. And in those days, I'm also seeing you. So, sometimes there's a tendency to like separate the two as like, oh, we got to push this in this training session and then push really hard in this rehearsal. But you really opened my mind in terms of maximum impact. It's in the branding Kinetic impact, and we'll get into like more about our past history together. But that just initial like, there were times I'm like, man, if I go in the morning, I'm gonna be exhausted by the time I get to rehearsal. But the opposite happened. I ended up feeling more refreshed, more strong. I originally went to talk about rehabilitating my hip because I had injured it about a month prior, and it was still nagging me. I couldn't rotate my hip without any pinching sort of sensation. I was even getting some pain down my leg all the way to my shin. As you're rehabbing my hip, you're also trying to strengthen certain areas. And I had told you the concept of the piece, which was, it's really great that I can communicate to you in that way, where your question is, okay, what are you doing on stage? Like, do you have the piece done? What's it going to feel like physically? And I'm telling you, well, we're using a bar. The dancers are going to be hanging off of it. There's 6 of them. They're not going to be fully hanging all of their weight, but they definitely gave me their weight.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be lifting me. I'm lifting them. It's going to be really physical because the piece in particular is about burnout. And we wanted to be very meta and literally experience burnout within the piece by pushing ourselves physically. As we're going through burnout and going through this process of, not only am I rehearsing with the dancers, training with you, but I need to also choreograph the pieces. So I usually start, either my morning starts with the
Yep. Very good.
choreographing. I probably have maybe 2 to 3 hours. Anything beyond that, I start to get really fatigued. So I got 2 to 3 hours to come up with as much choreography as I can to fulfill the rest of the day of that 6-hour rehearsal. And then if I didn't finish or whatever, I just got to finish it inside of the rehearsal with the dancers on the spot. Opposite way. And then boys, I lean on you this way. You know what I mean? So like here. And then we come back, and then let it go that way. Let it come back towards us here. I'll catch it. And then I'm gonna lift this up. Okay. And then I'm gonna turn this out. Look at my video. I'm gonna repo this. Watch your heads. And I'm gonna come back onto the treadmill. And then you all are gonna rely. You're gonna rise. And then we're gonna go into bam, bam, and you like more choreo-based stuff. And then what happens is I'll put this down, and I will spread out for me. And then we go into ocean, okay, we're on our way. So that's a whole day, and I'm doing that about a week's worth of time. We started in that first week, it was just you and I training, building the body up, rehabilitating the hip. Second week, I was choreographing a little bit more, starting to rev up, but we always knew that like third week was going to be the chaos week. And by the time we got to that third week, I was feeling already really strong. The funny thing is though, after week 1, my hip was like good. You had magically healed it through, and we can talk about those certain workouts that you got to heal my hip through. But the second week, I think through choreographing, I had somehow injured my other hip. So I come to you like, yeah, my left hip's good, but now my right hip is hurting just as much as it did when we first started. So it was like starting over again. Talk me through like the specifics of the kind of like workouts that you have me doing, because it was all new to me in your process, and really adopting a lot of what you do and what you both and Ben do here in the space. And it's been kind of game-changing for me in this time of my career.
Yeah, that was like a moment where I was like, oh crap, okay, now we have to like pivot. But again, I always go back to like, I have to be a little bit of the rock, because I know like you're performing, and added like me stressing it, even internally, I feel like that exudes like like adding stressor onto your plate. And so I go back to it, and really, I think what made the biggest difference is seeing you warm up and understanding that you weren't getting as much mobility out of that hip. And
Yeah, because you could see me literally
yeah,
like doing a move and like one side is just so not
correct.
flexible.
Yeah, that side lunge, right? And
Yeah.
like I could see you're an athlete, so you're gonna compensate. So torso lean, figuring out ways to make you feel like you're in that position. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How do I conceal my weaknesses
yeah,
here?
yeah. So then I realized, okay, we're gonna need to figure out ways to make sure that tissue gets under some stress and gets under some stretch and gets into deeper positions. So then we kind of pivoted into doing a lot more like full range of motion squats, and we kind of played around with it, right, to see what was good. For you in particular, wasn't a traditional like squat position. Even with like a kettlebell, we actually had to put the weight around your waist, so that way you can actually sink deep into the squat position. And I'm lucky I have really smart mentors that I can text and be like, hey, this is what's going on, help me. And one of my mentors who I actually got that from is to when things get hard and when things get complex, go back to like the fundamentals. So really, I just decided I saw an imbalance, and addressed the imbalance through full range of motion squats, that gets the hip under complete range of motion, tissue stretches. The core has to engage at deeper positions, and then single leg work. I had you hop in on single leg and have you do it. Yeah. And because if we think about it, single leg puts the spotlight on any imbalances. So now it's going to create you to have to load that right side in different ways than you were doing from the piece. So I purposely made it very simple. So you're in place, you're hopping in a single place, and you just do it in a circle. Right? So there's no motor learning, right? It's just allowing your body to understand the sequencing of absorbing and producing force.
Well, that I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No,
I just want to
you're
say
good.
that like paint a picture of like when you have me doing, I see it, you're just hopping in a circle and it's 90 degrees, whatever, and it seems simple and you're doing it, but when I get into it though, I'm like, this shit burns, like,
Yes.
and you had me going through a deep position as well doing that, and that you found ways to make the simple have this huge impact on me in a short amount of time. And I think like as for myself, as someone who's getting older and who's getting near, the ends of like the dance sort of lifetime, and life expectancy, it's sort of every minute is really important in when I'm physical. And so when you're able to get me to burn really quickly and not burn me out by the end of the workout, that's a really fine line to play. And I just think that like whatever you're doing there was quite genius. And even the simple squat of me going full range and coming up, I told every time we did, I was like, dude, my hips opening up more, and every rep I would go deeper and deeper and deeper. And honestly, most people would think like, oh, I gotta rest my hip and not do anything, but it was the doing the thing that healed it. It's actually, I did sit around for a while trying to let it heal by itself, and it never did. But you and Ben, Kinetic Impact we've had a relationship for, gosh, maybe like 8 years now. Like we've been around you guys for 8 years, starting back at the Optimum Space, and you guys would work on Mari and I, and as just kind of chiropractic, PT, and immediately we noticed that you guys were different from other chiropractors that we would see and PTs. And then over time, we had talked to you guys about a show we were doing, Beyond Babel, which became an ultimate case study in dancers as athletes, because that show is a 90-minute show. It was an off-Broadway show that we performed 5 to 8 times a week. It's equal to basically an NBA game is how we measured it. and you would see our cast every week and work on their necks, their backs,
Yep.
their knees, all the things. And so you and Ben have this really unique perspective over not just dancers' bodies and their makeup, and but also specifically my style and Mari's style, and how what's the first things to go like in
Yeah.
the body. So talk to me a little bit about like the history of going through that process of learning,
Yeah.
like what you know, using dancers as like a unique client,
Hmm.
and then now having that like army of information to then tackle these 3 weeks.
Yeah. Oh man, I love this topic because it would kind of birthed our conversations of like how passionate we got of like, yo, we need to like address the mindset shift of dancers to realize that like they are freaking athletes, like football players, baseball players, basketball players, just like everybody else. And that's the mindset that they need to take on because how demanding that sport is,
Yeah,
right?
step
And
one.
oh my gosh, yeah. So I love talking about this because this was like the birth of this conversation, and gets me like really passionate because, um, man, that was to see it in person multiple times was phenomenal. But just to like dissect like how you guys move and be like, okay, that's why they're coming with neck pain, right? It's this song
They're
and this,
thrashing their
yeah,
head up and down
yes,
repetitively. Oh, got it. That's why their necks hurt.
yes, they're giving themselves whiplash. Got it. Okay, and then like the dialogue, the uniqueness too was like you're like the coach. You're kind of like semi-pro. Oh yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where you're
the
like,
player coach.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
and GM and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
because we'd be able to like have a conversation and be like, okay, this dancer, she can get away with doing something like this, but like this piece, like, can you hide her anyway? Like, well, like I would just give you a little bit of information. You're like, all right, yeah, I got you. Or I'd be like, hey, she's good, but we're gonna have to limit her minutes. Maybe on the show days where it's like really intense, she does one of them, right? And
Yeah, straight up, we had load management.
yes,
Like
yes,
it's like
yes,
we had, hey, Saturdays coming up. We got a double coming up, a
yes.
2 show day. So the day before, hey, maybe take her out of this piece.
And to me, like that's a huge piece. Like, and that's what like load management is all about. It's not like removing completely. It's about doing the best of what you can to then with the mindset of scaling up,
Right.
right? And that's kind of like what this 3 weeks was about. It's like, okay, what can you do? When is it going to get really intense? Okay, what we're going to actually do is I actually drew a graph on the whiteboard, right? I was like, okay, so we're going to rev up intensity, and then the second that you guys start revving up intensity, our intensity is going to drop, right? So you've been exposed to intensity now for 3 weeks prior to that 1 week of going hard, and then the gym's going to go easy.
Yeah.
So it's basically going to flip flop, right?
Right.
So from a general like load management standpoint, like we had a plan from like day one. It's going to be a little harder at the beginning, and then it's going to taper off. But yeah, I think that it's so that unique experience and like that opportunity to have a dialogue back and forth during like such a grind of such a hard show, and also a lot of moving parts, right? Like, shoot, there was probably like, how long was that process, like that training camp process, if you will? Like, how long did you guys? Because you guys rehearsed quite a bit.
It was a month of rehearsals,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we had like a couple weeks of previews,
Yep.
to get our bodies in show shape,
Yes.
and then we were in show. And even then, it took us a minute to get used to like, oh my gosh, we have 4 shows in 2 days. What are we gonna
Mhm.
do? So it was a long, arduous process. But by the end of it,
Yeah.
I will say all of us got super buff. Like,
Yeah, for
that
real.
show put us in crazy shape. And what was great though was that going back to that shift of mindset
Yeah.
of, at that time we had been, Mari and I had been big proponents in the dance community about pushing this mindset of,
Yep.
we had this sort of saying of, I'm not an artist, I'm not an athlete, I'm both. And for dancers to think of themselves that way, to change the way they warm up as opposed to starting a class with a basic static stretch, which is the typical way of how dancers started stretches. But then, guys like you started coming like, hey, we got to like do dynamic warm-ups. And then I started looking at like, what do basketball players do? I played basketball when I was a kid. And so I have that deep passion for sports as well. And so I look at how different athletes train, and just colliding with you guys has been the ultimate education space for us to level up. And I feel like at that point, pushing the mindset for dancers, our cast getting in that mindset, they started building really great habits where they were watching what they ate. They were, giving themselves like good carbs before the show. In the middle of the show, our sort of halftime, they would fill up with some light sugar, some electrolytes, whether it was like an orange or, something that was just going to get them going for the second half of the show. And then post show, they would get protein. Yeah. It was all about protein, and then foam rollers, and then they could do the isometric stretches where they're just like holding static and not overly cooling down, but just those habits started to build in, and it was really cool to see them then spread this knowledge to all the dancers in that way. And I feel like for you, as someone who, I know you did sports in your youth and now going into training other athletes, like what is it that, when you see a dancer that, because, like when you think of a football player, they're like, oh, they're like super strong and they can run through walls. And then you think of a basketball player, like, oh, they jump super high, super, left and right. Soccer players, obviously their lower half, things like that. Like when you see a dancer, what is it that you think is like their superpower as an athlete that is different from the rest?
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this, but I think it's the ability to pick up on cues, like the ability to, even if something like I teach something, it looks really bad, take one, I give like a tiny bit of feedback, and take two, it's like perfect, right? Like there's which makes a lot of sense in your guys' world, yeah. Right? Because you guys learn new body positions and how to use your body, and your whole job is to pick that up as quick as possible and then make it look really freaking good. Yeah. So it's like take one is like awful, and then take two, it's like, damn, that's better than me. What the hell? I've been doing this for 15 years. What the hell? I think that is like their superpower. Yeah. And it's fun as a coach because it makes my job really easy from a cueing standpoint. Yeah. And then we can focus on like such bigger picture stuff, right? Like what are your low hanging fruits? Like if you're a contemporary style type of dancer, maybe you don't need more mobility. You need a little bit more strength and stability and power, right? Maybe if you're like a breaker or a powerful dancer like yourself, it's like, okay, maybe we need to touch power just a little bit to keep you powerful, and then like work on full range of motion and mobility stuff. Right? And that, to me, I think those are such bigger, important stuff than like, no, you got to do this exercise like this perfectly, right?
Right.
So it's like, it makes my job way fun, like a lot easier and fun.
Both Mari and I are in here training, but we have different programs, and some of the movements cross over, but I see her doing different things and she sees me doing different things. And I'm curious as to, when you see like, because Mari is contemporary leaning and I'm like a little bit more hip hop leaning, like where those identifications of strengths and weaknesses are, and then how you guys attack that. And then I know at some point we're going to come together and put it all together, but like, what's your mindset as far as, and talk to me about like the specific movements that you have us doing that are catered towards those specific styles.
Yeah. So the way that we like train people is like, we do touch on like all physical qualities, whether it be mobility, strength, power, endurance, cardio, conditioning, but we pull the lever a little harder depending on where your low-hanging fruit is, like what you're able to do, what you're not able to do, and then like what your goals are, right? Like for example, when you had to get ready for this, it's like, all right, well, we got to condition. I'm going to condition you a little bit more than I would. We're going to put you on the sled a little bit, and we're going to make you breathe heavy. But if you're not at that mobile, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on your lower intensity days. Like we talk about this often, we have undulating intensities in our training. Some are high days and most are low days. And on those low days, I'm going to have you do deeper range, more mobility stuff. And then I'll occasionally put in some like bodybuilding, muscle building type of stuff. Whereas Mari might be a little flip-flopped. she'll still have mobility in there, right? But she's also going to make sure that on her high day, she's going to be as explosive as possible. She's going to be lifting as hard as she can. And then on those low day complementary, that she'll probably have a little bit more strength base than you would. But if you look at like your guys' routine, there's overlapping exercises because we're comfortable teaching those exercises for those purposes. Right. And I think there's so many ways to get mobility, so many ways to get strength. We just are comfortable with those exercises. So that's where you see like the overlap. Yeah. It's just the doses are titrated a lot differently based on like your needs and her needs and where you guys are at with your guys' goals.
Probably everyone's thinking like, I just want to know what they did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like, let's talk about that because...
So it was the beginning of the week. You would typically be fresher on that Monday. So, and we were together, we were able to explore a little bit.
Right.
So those days would be more higher intensity based. Mm-hmm. But even then, we would essentially do 2 to 3 like sets, working sets of either a jump or a lower body heavy exercise, mainly jumps.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to fatigue the body too much. I remember telling you that, hey, we're going to do this 2 times. It's going to feel like you want to do more. We're not going to do more. Yeah. And then at that stage, I was baking in conditioning as well. So what it would look like was we would do our dynamic warm up. We would go over any of like the correctives that we did to help open up your hip, like those single leg hops, some of the deeper range, like hip activation stuff. And then we would go into box drops. Then we went into box drops over a hurdle. Then we went into box drops into a broad jump. Then we were done. And then we went into conditioning. Okay, now you're gonna have to have this sled. It's gonna be heavy. You're gonna have to push it. And it's gonna be about 30 seconds of work. By the way, you're not gonna rest. On your rest, you're gonna do a little bit of mobility and you're gonna slam this med ball into the wall. And then you're gonna do that for 5 to 6 rounds because that's gonna equate to anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes of this piece that's going to be brutal for you. So we have to get your energy systems, your conditioning ready to do so. Those days, those were the early days. Then I believe when you went home, you did some choreo, right?
Yeah, so I would have choreography sessions anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, sometimes 3.
Yeah.
And then I would take a little break, do a little cool down. Compression was kind of key for me during this period of time. Yeah. So I hit the compression boots in between sessions. Yeah. And then at night, my family was helping me get conditioned too because we started doing family ciphers. Yes. And between myself, Mari, and Numa, we would just do like 3 to 5 rounds each, and they would push me. They would make me go whole songs, and you encouraged that actually to freestyle every night to get my stamina up on that front.
Yeah, because there's nothing more specific than the sport itself. You got to freestyle on a regular basis and go hard and get your body ready to go hard again.
And it was crazy because when I was freestyling, my hip was like very fearful. I wouldn't go to places that I would normally go. My mind would stop me. And over reps and time, as we were working together, ramping up the intensity, opening up the hip, as I was doing more freestyling, my body started to trust more and more and more. It was the coolest conversation I was having with my body, literally while freestyling. I'd be like, "Are you ready?" And my body would be like, "Nope, I'm not ready." And then be times to be like, "Okay, now I'm ready." And I would go into a different position, and it would really like be a confidence booster for me because at this point, like, yes, we're training the body, but more than anything, we're training the confidence, knowing that I'm on stage right now and I've done everything I could to maximize my potential.
Yes.
And I think that was a really key period, that first week, building that confidence.
Yeah, that was, I'm glad we talked about this. I totally forgot about that. And that's a huge piece of like return to play is confidence, right? And the ability to do so in a freestyle, I think, I do this with all dancers actually. I say, sometimes I just do it in the office, and especially if they're really timid and they're open to doing it in the office. We just put on a song and I say, I want you to freestyle. I want you to hit anything that you can and get to know your body. Let me know, give me feedback, and then we can adjust from there. I totally forgot about that. I'm really glad we brought that up because I think that's super important. And I think there's nothing that prepares you more to be in dance shape
Yeah.
than to dance.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the week was really low type of workouts, right? Just
Yeah.
body weight circuits,
Yeah.
2 to 3 rounds of 6 exercises of either mobility or like body weight push-ups is an easy example, squats is an easy example, just to get you keep moving.
Right.
And a pool workout.
Yes.
And then I think you just like repeated your choreo and freestyle throughout those weeks, and we dialed up the conditioning and intensity on 2 days out of the week, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, well, in the midst of all of that, as if we couldn't make it more complicated, I had a music video shoot in the
that's
middle
right.
of all of that.
Yeah.
And so there were times where I was like, I literally can't come in because I got to drive up to LA today. I'm in LA for a couple days. And he would write me workouts that were, non-gym friendly. I could do it anywhere. Talk me through like those types of workouts.
I think there's two main things, right? That you can get intensity and you can get recovery without a gym. And the way we were utilizing it was for recovery. And the main thing is just to be able to hit some mobility and then hit some exercises that creates a muscle burn. And it's that muscle burn that actually stimulates recovery. It tells your body to shoot out hormones that people illegally take to get really good, right? Just similar to like taking anabolic steroids or similar to taking HGH. It's your endocrine's actually releasing those hormones that help you recovery. So, and the beauty of them is you keep it from 2 to 3 rounds, pick a broad range of exercises, and you don't have to be perfect with them because the dose is so low that it's not going to beat your body up.
Yeah. Do you have, like call out like a couple specific exercises that you're doing?
Yeah. So the easiest ones, because I know we always have this, like the names are hard, right?
Yeah. He would write me this whole text, and I'd be like, skip external rotation, and I'm trying to get. I'm like, what is that again?
Yeah. So like easy ones are like push-ups, and this all depends on your fitness level too, right? So if like you're not as fit, you're gonna pick a lot easier stuff and you're gonna peel back. But let's say medium level is like body weight squat, push-up, child pose to cobra, stuff that keeps you moving, like that may be a stretch but keeps you moving. What I call groin rock back, where you're on all fours, the one leg is straight out to the side and you're just rocking back and forth. Little squat hops, right? And then maybe some like down dog to plank or shoulder taps, something that you can string together that are 5 to 6 exercises. You can go through 2 to 3 rounds, feel a muscle burn, and then be done. And it should take around 10 to 15 minutes. I've noticed that anything longer, it one becomes boring, or you just get taxed and you add fatigue instead of be recharged. Right?
That's so interesting. And I think sometimes people think like when they get into like a new form of athleticism and they trying to train and stuff like that, that they try to create these like really how do I explain this, like kung fu style workouts where they like have buckets of water on them, like they're trying to like get really creative and invent something new. And I found that you talked a lot about like just maximizing the foundation, but there was a moment that you did get really creative. And I thought it was really cool when you had me doing that barbell march, but it was only one weight on one side. And I asked you, I was like, I had never done that before. And I was like, when did you think of that? And I was like, well, your piece. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it was unique when you told me like I'm gonna have people hang on a barbell and I'm gonna be like walking. And I remember seeing 2 different versions that made me think of like right when you said it, made me think of. One version is you hang weights and they're hanging by bands basically, right? So if you move, it's gonna like do this.
Right.
And then another where you put weight on one side and you have to march in place or squat. This was a squat, but I didn't want to add any fatigue, right? I didn't want to have you like break down your legs. So I was like, I'm just gonna have a march in place. I'm gonna let him feel what it's like to be uneven. and what it feels like on his back to be uneven. And it's going to minimize fatigue because he's not getting like super deep in the range of motion under load too. But really what inspired it was the conversation about the piece and what you're going to be doing. And this was, I remember you telling me that early on because you were still figuring out the piece itself. You're like, but I know I'm going to do this. I'm like, interesting. I'm going to put that at least once a week in the routine so you can feel it and you can build that confidence like you were talking about before.
It really did help because once, week one we built up, week two we're also revving up, and we also had to like mitigate for that music video shoot that I had in the middle of week two. And then week three is like, okay, now I'm really revving up. We're rehearsing every day this week. And then at the end of that, I'm literally flying straight to China. And, I'm getting into rehearsals, these long days with the dancers, and I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really strong. I'm surprising myself. I'm hanging with, as you said, people 2 decades younger than me, and they're feeling a bit fatigued, and I'm feeling like, oh, well, this old man still got it, And we get over to China. Well, first I see you, every day, and you're checking in with me, and we're feeling good. We fly over to China. We land like really late. I think our dancers got into like the hotel like 4 a.m. And we were originally supposed to tech like 6 hours after that, but I had told the company like, hey, is there another slot that we can take? We'll even take later at night, because at that point our jet lag is just, it would have been more dangerous for us to do it that early off of a long flight like that than just do it later. So we ended up teching from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. We were literally walking out of the theater with the sun rising. And the next day, or that day, is the show. And somehow we all made it through, but it was another level for us to have to go up, because there was this new fatigue that set in, where what happens is when you're on stage as a dancer, that first tech rehearsal run where you just want to like put it all out there, you end up overdoing it. And everyone overdid it. Everyone was so gassed by the end of the piece that we told ourselves, like, we just gathered up like, hey, the piece is done. Like, it's in your body. You don't need to do more than what you're doing. It's already there. So we locked in and we found our pacing. And it was pretty cool to see, because also throughout the process, our warm-ups, I had them doing a lot of the things that you had me doing. Wall sits, like certain opening, like hip exercises, like certain things that would get their core really engaged, and just all that different type of warm-up. And they weren't used to that. They were like, by the end of the warm-up, like, oh, there's more after this? Like, what? I thought we're tiring ourselves before the piece, and they adopted that. They got stronger. So by the time we got to the show, literally, it was our best run. It couldn't have been any better. And I feel like we truly hit our peak, like right at the right time, at the moment we're supposed to peak. And I think that's a big credit to, like, obviously you, like, getting me ready for the show, taking on that challenge of that question I asked you on day one, 3 weeks, this old man jumping back on stage, can you get me ready? And typically, athletes have this whole off season, 3 months, whatever it is. We don't, as dancers, we don't get that. We don't get the opportunity to say, oh, well, we're dancing 10 months and then we get 2 months off. It's like, no, we're on call all the time. We may book a job tomorrow, and it may be hanging off of a bar and doing some things that we've never done before. But all that to be said, now that we've finished the piece, I'm back from China, and we're kind of now getting into some normalcy of working out on a more consistent schedule. We're kind of in stay ready mode, but also wanting to grow. What's now your mindset as you get me ready? Because at any point I can get a call tomorrow and be back on stage.
Now we have a little bit more freedom to kind of add volume, meaning being able to do more work, right? And feel a little bit more fatigued. Mainly so like your body calluses to these stressors, and you have a bigger envelope of, like, a functional envelope. So when if you do get called last second, your functional envelope's just so big already that the piece is just, no, you're good. That you have a big enough functional envelope that's large enough that if you do get called at the last second, it's your body's ready to go. And really what that looks like is instead of doing maybe like 2 sets and feel like a tease, we can get into what 4, 6 sets feel like and actually accumulate that that ability to repeat power, right? And not just visit power, or repeat strength and not just visit strength, right? And then also too, it's gonna look like it's just gonna look like longer duration of the same stuff, right? So your body is able to be callous to that stuff.
And what I love about what you've had me doing so far is like we spent a lot of time working on like the technicality of certain jumps and just
Yeah, yeah.
form on certain things. And I come from a sports background, so I know those things a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in the dance world, I'm sort of known as like the guy who jumps and moves his feet really fast and is really complex with his stuff. And so for me to come in here and to get like sort of schooled on like, yo, you're jumping this way or that way, I was really front footed on my
Yes.
jumps. You're teaching me to be more whole footed. I had a tendency to like bend my upper half in my jumps as opposed to staying upright. And then you had talked a lot about, you know, what was it? That's like 17 times body weight, whatever, like pushing into the ground when you're
Doing a
jumping.
triple jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Repeat that for me. Just that.
Yeah, so it's like 17 to 22 times your body weight impacts the ground when a triple jumper does the last jump on takeoff, right? So when their foot collides with the ground, let's say they weigh 100 pounds because I'm terrible at math, that's 2,200 pounds of force that goes into the ground. So what I do is I steal from those people. They know the best how to put pressure into the ground, use it, store that energy, and then use it as a spring, right? So when I go over these technical stuff, I'm just learning from track coaches and jumping coaches and stuff like that and how they use the ground, because I look at it as like, this may not be pertinent to exactly how you do it in a dance piece, but it is pertinent to express that much force so your tissues know what that force is like, and then because it's been exposed to that, then adapts and becomes powerful and to much more than, let's say, if you were not doing it with that technique.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, because like when someone, if you were to say, hey, we're gonna have a power workout today, I'm thinking, oh, we're lifting heavy,
Yeah.
you know, we're stacking the plates and we're deadlifting, things like that, which is kind of, you know, what I think most people would think about. But you've got me thinking about it in a different way, where it's like in a way that's much more applicable, and especially what I do as a dancer,
Yeah.
because it really is about, yes, we do like a move, but we're only doing that move like once or twice, and we're moving on to a new movement. And it's like, how do you execute that singular movement as best as possible? And so when you have me doing not 10 jumps and like lifting, you know, trying to squat 500, whatever it is, like maxing out, when you have me just focusing on that triple jump, that third jump, and maximum impact and getting the most out of that singular jump, that actually makes so much sense with what I do. Because if I'm doing a rana jam and I'm turning and then I jump out of that, I want maximum impact and height on that. But we got to train, because I got so used to like, okay, doing jump training is like, okay, doing reps, 10 jumps, and you're not really like, yeah, you're working on your max, but there's a point where like you just start to kind of drop and your form gets wonky, and then like you start to build bad habits, and you have me like, how do you do one perfect jump over and over again?
Yes.
And then when you start to be imperfect, okay, call it.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was so applicable to dance, and
That's interesting.
and it's kind of got me thinking so differently about my workouts.
Yeah. And the way I view it is like, you're just trying to develop a quality of being able to move really quickly and produce a lot of force really quickly. So how you do it is everything.
Right.
Once you're fit enough to do it, and your body can take jumping, right? But you're beyond that part. Now it's like, what's the intention and how to truly redline, right? Because the only way you get more powerful is to get as close to red line as humanly possible. Like even the best sprinters in the world, when they run 100 meters, like the best is what Usain Bolt, 9.8 seconds. The best in the world can only really hold top end for 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
The best in the world, right? So what can you do to hit red line with maximum intention will have the most carryover to develop the quality of power, right? And yes, it could be heavy. What we talk about, surfing the velocity curve, right, with the heavy stuff, right? But then there can be intention in there. Can you move heavyweight fast, right? Like we were doing last week, right? Can you go max effort and lift as like your PR, right? That's what everybody thinks about when we're in regards to strength. But there's so many different ways to do it. Like how fast can you get out of a position is really important for you.
Yeah, it's so much about quickness in a short amount of time, and space, and weird space, and like awkward position, from awkward position to the next awkward position. How quickly can you get there? For myself, like where I'm at in my personal journey with dance, it's been so interesting these last like 5 years, because personally I'm trying to like transition into this space where I'm a bit more passionate about filmmaking, directing, working with actors. And I find myself, I kind of like tucked dance away and like really went head on with that and tried to immerse myself in how to become the, best director I could, working with actors, going to theater, things like that. And now I find myself in this juncture where like I've kind of figured out my style as a director, and I'm kind of coming back to dance in some weird way, and all of it is colliding in this really cool way. And I'm really now in this space of like, what is like, yes, longevity, but consistency. Those two things are so hard. And I hate this thought of like, I don't think of it as like you're at the top of the mountain, how do you stay on top of it? It's like, no, you're just like on this infinite path walking forward.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask like your message to, like, because you are old in your world, right? Like, no offense.
No, I'm geriatric. I'm geriatric in my world.
Like these young dancers coming up, like what is your message to them to eke out these such like high quality productive years when society in that world is like, no, that like you got to move on, like you can't do anything more.
Right. I mean, it's so much about like, for the younger dancers out there, I'm always trying to encourage them to find their identity within their dance, because I think so many dancers are incredibly talented now. Like, I mean, it's like that in youth sports too, right? You see in basketball all these incredible athletes coming up so quickly because the resources are so much more vast, and the information is easily accessible and it's free. And they're just scrolling, they see it, And so for the dancers, it's like there's this time now where I feel like they're needing to find their own identities and figure out like who their personality is inside of that. And dance is so much of a character athlete sport where it's like you need to have that own sauce and that own identity, and then figure out from there, where do you want to take it. And I think dance is like one of the most incredible like and moldable accessories. Like it's that hat that you can wear with every outfit. It's that jacket that like just like tops off the jeans and the white tee. It may not be the only thing, but it really does amplify a lot of different things. So I encourage dancers to like find out, does it lead you to filmmaking? Does it lead you to acting? And then how to lift dance within that. And I find that like meeting you and Ben and working here at the new space, like it's this really cool convergence now of like I'm figuring out my current my why in dance now is different than it was back then, and I think I've really settled it into what that is, and I can dive into that in a different session. But I feel like it's really cool to because there was a period of time where Mara and I were just training in a gym, by ourselves and going 5 days a week. But what was really needed was like that sense of community and direction and guidance. And it was really cool to find you guys at this point in our career where it's all coming back to us, and my relationship with dance is becoming much more clear and healthy, and I feel just like the most well-rounded artist I feel that I've ever felt in my
Yeah,
life. And it's cool for it to converge at this
for sure.
point in time. And I feel that in you guys too. Like you guys are really like you're in your new space, and there's just like really cool energy in it. And I know we want to talk a lot more about dance and it being a sport, and how
Yeah,
dancers can seek longevity and consistency in their own ways. Like consistency is different per person, and
yeah,
longevity is different per person. And how do we discover those avenues? And we love to continue this
yeah,
dialogue,
yeah, yeah.
and even get into the minutia of those specific workouts. And maybe I'll share a couple if it's cool
Yeah,
with you, like
yeah,
a couple different
yeah,
workouts that we've done,
for
just like as a
sure.
template for people to see.
Yeah,
But I think there's so much that's untapped. There's so much untapped, and I feel like finding myself as an athlete within these spaces has brought me longevity, consistency, and confidence in my dance. And so, yeah, we want to find that and bring that to dancers
I
and
love it.
all athletes and people. So,
Correct.
thank you
Yeah.
for doing that for me and for
Likewise,
Mari.
I am humbled. I always am inspired to not only work with you but hang out with you, and this is why we're so close, like outside of the gym,
Yeah.
and it's really been like a friendship that I'm actually really grateful for. So I really look forward to talking more, man.
Yeah, yeah, just the beginning. And
I know.
if any of the folks out there have any other
Yes.
questions and stuff to drop in, like let us know, and we'll try to hit those comments. I think this is something that we want to explore more often, and
Agreed.
we have no idea what we're doing right now. We're
Correct.
just kind of like, let's
Yeah.
start the conversation, but
Yeah.
good things always start with a good conversation. All right, so if you made it this far, thank you. That's the end of the conversation, and we hope y'all enjoyed it. If you have any more questions, hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. I know Mari and her coach are going to have a conversation, and we want to just do more of this, whether it's just me and Mari having a conversation about directing, choreographing, editing, any of the things, not just on the strength and conditioning side. But yeah, hit us up, and we hope to peel back the curtain a little bit more. Okay, bye.